Good morning, my friend. This is a small segment of yoga stretches for back. We're primarily trying to lengthen backs of legs and gain more confidence in lower back with these postures. So this, from our sessions together, is our fourth session together, but it's our third video since we combined sessions 1 and 2 in our first video. So I'd like to show you the first move, and remembering that as we move from anywhere in our life to the next, especially from one yoga posture or pose to the next, we're doing it mindfully. We're moving with ease and gentleness with our bodies, just whatever feels good. But I would love for you to try to incorporate, similar to what you're doing at your desk during the day, this stretch in, maybe at the beginning or the end or all throughout the day, but definitely the beginning or end of your practice. So to set it up, we're attempting to make our bodies look like an L. We would have our hands flat against a wall. I'm using a door here, that works too. And then start to slowly move your feet back. You don't have to have shoes on, I just happen to have shoes on for this part of the video still. And as we're doing this, we're pressing into the wall, pressing away. As we walk back, we feel our sides lengthening. And ultimately, we want to make ourselves like that capital L. So we would have to drop the hands, really pushing back out of the hands, because I could get lazy here with my arms and sit forward. I want to find all of that length. Soften my knees, but I'm really sticky in my feet, so I'm not feeling like I'm going to slip, which is a great reason to have shoes on for this one, however you feel most confident. And then remembering just to pull shoulders down from ears so our necks are relaxed as we do this. And eventually dropping head right between the elbows, ears between elbows. And then as you push away and really lengthen, may feel like we could drop the hands a little bit more. But ideally, if the low back feels really good here, we're going to start to really drop chest towards the floor. Belly's pulled in, I'm breathing, supporting my low back muscles with an engaged core. And then I'm finding length, pushing my sits bones away from my shoulders, my tailbone, away from my head. Now it gets intense fast here, so feeling free to rise up, eye gaze looks forward, slow walk in. We can come all the way back, and if our wrists and our shoulders got sore there, which they probably will, just take a minute. Coming back when you're ready. I would say a good 10 to 20 breaths here would be ideal. That could be broken down into 10 segments or 20 segments. Maybe we get out a little bit, we push away, we take a big breath in, and then we feel like we want to rise in the exhalation. That's okay. Any way we can get this done. Spreading fingers wide so you feel really firmly supported on the wall. And then pressing back, back, back before we start to really ease down. This is so nice for our low backs. But again, we're going to find shoulder stretch. Stretch all through our arms, even up into the armpits, down our side bodies, and then down through the low backs. Great for the backs of our legs too. Our knees are soft. I think about pushing my sits bones back as my shins push forward. Pushing back through the back of my upper thighs as my knees are soft and my shins push forward. That gives you great length through the back of your legs. I like to breathe in for lots of energy and enthusiasm, and then whenever I'm ready to exit something, usually I'll breathe out. Slowly coming on up and out. Try it and see how you do, and I'll meet you on your mat. From our wall, L standing position, we're making our way just really carefully down to the mat and beginning our practice from here. As we lie back, we just want to make sure that we have our strap, maybe a pillow, or a bolster, or a blanket, 2 blocks, and our strap with the little end through the buckle so that we can use that. It should look like a circle in a little while. So as we lay back, we're going to get really cozy. using whatever necessary to head on back, whether that be your hands, your forearms, the backs of your legs. Remember that we're moving with purpose and mindfulness. Let me scoot down just a little bit here. I hope that my head isn't in that light the whole time, but if it is and you can't see me, you're welcome. So as you lie back, we're just starting very simply by pulling our knees in, giving our low backs a loving massage, whatever feels really good, flexing, pointing through the toes, rolling through the ankles, holding on to the legs or not. Taking some big breaths to get situated here, and also taking the opportunity to crunch up if that feels good for your back, trying to get into all the little nooks and crannies around your spine. And then when you're ready, easing your head and neck on back and beginning some push and pulls through the legs. So kind of looks like a Pilates single leg stretch, or maybe a bicycle leg. We have a couple ways we can go about it, holding back of thigh in front of shin, switching arms. We can keep legs straight if it feels good for our backs, or maybe even starting just a little bit softer and lower, toes tapping towards the ground. Let's try to breathe in deep here. Belly pulls in down towards the spine and your low back is flat against your mat. So if we take the more advanced option and we start to push and pull and our low back arches away, let's come just a little bit easier, closer to body, lower to the ground are both easier. So even if we just poke our legs out a little bit. And if all of that feels great, we could take it up a notch. Crunching upper body up, trying to get bottom of shoulder blades right off of our mat here. Just getting a little bit of movement, a little bit of stretches, and then I would love it if, maybe we put our head back down for this one, if we could get our legs a little straighter. And this doesn't have to be fast. These are big stretches, so it might feel really good to slow way down here. And then one thing we want to keep in mind is that our legs stay just about hips width distance as we're traveling. So we don't have any wonky wide things happening here in the beginning of our practice, just easing in. Remembering that anytime you're moving through, if you want to press pause on the video or just catch up with me later, you're welcome to stay. If something feels really good, stay and explore that. So maybe we lift up, maybe we hold. If you do this, shoulders relaxed, hands strong, biceps strong. Switching with head up or head down and doing as many of these as you would like. Just remembering that we prioritize breath with movement, breath over movement all of the time. All right, and when things start to feel pretty good, we're gonna bring our knees back in, rest our head back down, and at the same time, grabbing a hold of our strap. One of the best, one of my favorite stretches. Starting with your right leg, putting the strap over, usually about the ball of your foot, and then just make sure that your buckle is somewhere that you could grab it if you want to pull it tighter in a moment. And it's not near your head, so usually like right out by the edge of your foot's a great place for that to be. Hammock hamstring stretches. Let's start with our left foot on the ground since we're stretching our right leg first. Your strap goes over your head and above your ears. So it's just kind of resting right here. And so as soon as you set up, this might be great. It might be a great spot for you to hang out. You're letting your head rest as far back as the strap allows, using the weight of our own body to stretch the back of our leg. So I know right away that I want this to be more intense for me, so I grab a hold of my strap and I pull it. Now don't feel bad if you're like, this is awkward, I want to take it off my head while I pull. You can take it off, readjust, make it tighter. If knee has to stay bent, knee has to stay bent. But I love the option of flexing my toes and then pressing through the heel to lengthen through back of leg. Trying to rest the arms, get really casual with the rest of your body. Free up your face, maybe close your eyes if you're able to relax. And then optionally, if we want to make this more intense, oh yeah, big difference. We're extending our left leg. So we want this leg to be in towards the midline, not kicked out on the diagonal like I just showed you. If you're watching, we're gonna sweep it back in. So both of our legs are about hips width distance apart. I hope when you find the perfect recipe for this posture that you feel like you want to stay here all day long. Feels so good. If we can hold in stillness, that's really wonderful. Maybe we could even hold here for like 10 breaths. If you ever want to play around with flexing the foot just a little bit more, seeing if that changes the intensity. We like our foot to be flexed to square, so that we get the stretch simultaneously down the left and right sides. So if our toes are pointed in or out, then the stretch comes to one side of the leg primarily. So we like a strong flex, all 5 toes pulling towards our nose like you could stamp your footprint on the ceiling. I hate to ask you to let it go, but that means we get to move on to the other side. So I like to rebend my leg and lift my head just a little bit. Grab a hold of each side of the strap and then just flip it off the back of your head. We don't have to move right on to the other side. Let's take a little break. Whatever that feels like for you. Maybe we use our strap to kind of pull our knees in. We can go back to where we were a second ago if we just really want to chill and kind of move a little bit. But listen, if your body's asking for a different type of a stretch, do whatever most naturally feels like relief from the big one you just did. And then when you're ready, let's move on to the other side. So just a little tricky figuring your strap out. You may want to open it, every side is different. And remembering that we want the buckle on the outside with the strap flap facing down, so you're able to grab it and pull it if you can tighten up anymore. Bow ball of foot, right? And then starting with your right knee bent, foot flat on the floor for the least intense version. Strap not bothering your ears, right above your ears. Oh, nice. And then just kind of see where you are. So I know I want to make mine a whole bunch tighter. I'm going to do that now. You do as little or as much as it feels good for you. And then remember, if something's bothering you, like that strap end was in my face, then I'll just readjust and get back down to business whenever I'm ready. Once all the hard work is done, then you get to relax. So bring your hands down. Hopefully that feels really good, just wherever they're super heavy, allowing gravity to take over. Back of head resting in your hamstring hammock. Playing with a flexed foot versus a pointed toe. Do all the things. Your body will tell you where you need to be today. But most importantly, breathing. And then taking the next step if and when you're ever ready. When we do extend our leg though, we want to make sure it's right underneath our hip and not all the way out here, kind of putting our hips askew. Thinking about pressing, stamping your left foot up on your ceiling so that we have a really strong flex and you feel both sides of the back of your left leg really stretching. Great time to practice some beautiful breath work. Maybe seeing if we can extend our exhalations to be twice as long as our inhalations. Now, if things are super intense right now, just breathing might be difficult. So focusing on simply breathing is perfect. But if you feel pretty calm, then you can try some of your breath work, such as extending your exhalation. You're always welcome to stay as long as it feels really wonderful for you. When you are done with the stretch, crunch up just a little bit. Grab each side, rebend your leg so there's not much tension and you might be able to just slip your strap right on off there. We're gonna keep our strap, but take a second. So maybe you felt this in your inner thighs or your groin, and something like a butterfly, reclined butterfly might feel good. Whatever your body's saying. Personally, I love extending legs to ceiling, drawing knees together, flexing feet, and pressing your feet out to the side. My knees are together, my feet are out to the side. spreading through the low back. We could go back to some spinal rocks, or we could go back to some Pilates single leg stretches. When you're ready, let's switch legs again. We want to lengthen our strap. Really long here, we can always adjust that later if need be. But we're moving into some IT band stretches for the outer thigh and inner thigh stretches. Let's move into the right leg to start. Wherever you're comfy, wherever you can be close to your buckle if you need to adjust. And if we're starting with our right leg, we want to have our left hand on our strap. So you can make it bigger or smaller, and if you really want to relax, what I like to do is take my hand inside the loop and then give it a couple turns so that I can just kind of hang my left arm. It's just hanging here because I'm all wrapped up in it. I like to extend my leg across my body just a little bit and see how everything feels before we just crash on down to the floor. Moving with purpose and intention. Flexing strong through the foot will help us push out through the heel and lengthen. Back of leg. Trying to extend through the left leg so that we can reach our right arm out, press our right shoulder down. Eyes stay at the ceiling as we travel. Right leg across our belly, any amount. If this is super intense, through the side of your leg, maybe through the back of your leg, stay right here. But you're certainly able to lift as much as it feels great. Go to your edge, wherever your edge is in this practice, in this moment. Options. We could have set ourselves up so that blocks or a blanket or our bolsters, whatever we have, is under our legs so that we can get to a spot and just let it rest. Otherwise, I prefer that we just use our strap, use the hand, use that as resistance to put the brakes on when necessary. And to complete this, your eyes are going to look right towards your right fingertips, enabling us to keep our right shoulder down and pushing our stretch down into the lower half of our bodies. Three to 5 breaths is great. Even if you only have time for 2 breaths, that's great. 10 breaths, perfect. And then when you're ready to transition to the opposite side of your leg on this side, take your eyes back first, firmly press down through your shoulder girdle. If this is so hard for you to rise back up, using just the power of your core, your obliques, and your leg, you're welcome to first rebend. You can turn all the way over to your side in fetal position and then use your body as one unit to roll up. Much less intense on our low backs. Otherwise, we may have just cruised on up to the top, found ourselves right back where we started, and then we want to switch hands with our strap, moving on to our right hand. Whatever feels best. If you just want to grasp it and that doesn't feel stressful for you, go for it. If you'd like to wrap up and kind of hang out with a little less effort in the hand, do like I do. Flex your foot. Let's make sure that both legs are hips width distance, and then our left hand is coming out to the side. That's the shoulder we want to keep down. Our opposite shoulder wants to try to stay in contact. Every little bit is wonderful. Option again, I could have a whole bunch of pillows or blocks stacked up over here to support me. If I feel really good, I might come all the way out. And it's your personal preference whether you want to find a spot and hold it, or whether you want to play around with, well, does my foot feel good today down towards the bottom of my mat? Does it feel good up towards the top of my mat? Do I want to sweep some arcs all over the place? Whatever floats your boat. Most importantly, paying attention to our breath and that our knee is soft. Easy here to hyperextend, pushing out through the back of the knee. So a little soft bend in our knee, strong flex in our foot, and then we just let go. Makes things a bit easier if you're able to look all the way over to your left side, past your fingers, keeping left shoulder firmly planted in your mat. When you've had enough of this stretch, raise your eye gaze back towards the ceiling. Turn your left palm so it's down and press down through your shoulder girdle to either sweep your straight leg back, or we can let go of our grasp and let our leg bend to bring it back. You can also use your opposite hand to help your leg back in, remembering that we move in whatever way our body's requesting. Hug both knees in. We're gonna switch legs, but if you feel that you need something before then, take it. Maybe we come back into that inner thigh stretch. We might wanna do a little straddle stretch. Preparation for the other side. Anything that feels good is right for you today. Hug in. And then when you're ready, moving things out of the way if you know you're not gonna be using those for your left side. We are going to get started. Putting right foot flat on the floor. Putting your strap over your left ball of foot. And then we're coming into IT band stretch first. We want the opposite hand, our right hand, to hold on to our strap. Little grasp is cool, a whole wrap up is super cool too. Left shoulder comes down, and then we probably want to extend our right leg out so we have room to drop a little bit or a whole lot into the outer thigh. The IT band, we stretch all the way from the side body down through the leg, out through the blade edge of your foot. All about what feels right for you. So I like to look over towards my left shoulder, helping to keep that shoulder flat. And then remembering that the hip is able to come up as much as you want it to. We can pull all the way over. Foot might even land on the floor. And if you felt like you needed some props, come on back up, rise, set yourself up so you feel really good to relax. When you feel ready, a real gentleness in rising, eyes back to ceiling. We have that option of turning to fetal or bending our knee to get it back into the center. Doing anything necessary in between stretches. But if you're feeling like you're going for it, swap hands on your strap. Swap shoulders flat on the mat. Right shoulder wants to come flat. I like to spread my fingers and put my palm all the way out there to really anchor myself in. Get your hands so you're comfy in your grasp, and then open to the side, down towards bottom of mat, up towards top of mat, whatever makes you feel really, really, really great. Finishing by taking eye gaze towards the opposite shoulder from where our leg is, towards your right side on this one. Where is your right leg? Is it right under your hip? That's a great place for it to be. When we get into these holds, asking ourselves where we can let go. Maybe it's something in our facial muscles. Maybe it's something emotionally or mentally that we're able to just let go of for the moment. Might just be a small wiggle in our toes or wiggle in our fingers. In your time, eyes back to ceiling. Rebending or keeping straight, maybe loosening our grasp. And then coming on in, we're actually gonna be done with our strap now. So putting that off to the side. Gathering yourself up into a little loving ball and just give yourself a heartfelt, loving sentiment here. Relax your shoulders. If you're hugging with me, nose towards your knees, or anything else that feels good. Moving on into some bridges, but I really would love it if we could have a block or a big fat book or something in between our knees to encourage knees staying in line with our hip bones. A little bit of inward momentum or squeeze or intention towards our midline. Fix any wardrobe or hair malfunctions whenever you need them. And then let's make sure that our block is not on the knee, the bones. It's right on the flesh there, so it's comfy to squeeze. Hands are down, and ideally we're gonna walk our heels in to the point where I might be able to tickle them with my fingers. Stamping down through the heels. Pressing through palms, backs of shoulders, and we're rising up into bridge with an unclenched backside. Let's instead take our tailbone towards the backs of our knees, stamp our feet down really firmly, and isometrically thinking about dragging our feet towards our shoulders to really engage into our hamstrings and our glutes without clenching the butt and putting pressure on your lower spine. Tailbone towards backs of knees, heels isometrically dragging towards your shoulders, squeezing through your block, and most importantly, breathing. If we need a little bit more room for our low back, we can certainly lift up through our heels here. If your arms feel super congested, we can sweep our arms up and overhead. Make any adjustments that your body's asking you for. When you've had enough, heels would come back down if they were lifted, and then we articulate the spine slowly to place one vertebrae at a time back down on our mats. Let's take our block out for a second. A really nice little steeple knee. Knees come together, feet come to about mat's width distance, and we can just chill. Another nice move here is to take the knees out to the side, both to one side, both to the other. Breathing in and breathing out like windshield wipers. Hands can be down, hands can be on your belly, wherever you feel really good. And let's go for one more bridge. When you're ready to get situated again, heels close to butt, you'd know if you're in a really great spot, if you can find them with your fingertips. Replacing our block in between the thighs so we can squeeze with intention towards our midline. Protecting our knees when we do that so they don't jut out to the sides. And then wherever you're comfy to begin, rise just a little, lengthening low back by tucking tailbone down towards the backs of our knees, and then boosting right on up. Stamping strong down through the heels, dragging heels back towards our shoulders. If it feels right and you'd like to add on, clasping hands underneath your butt, walking up to one shoulder and then the other, and then redoing tailbone towards backs of knees, heels stamping down and dragging towards shoulders. Most importantly, fully breathing. Spend as much time there as you'd like. If things are really tough, let it go as soon as you're ready. Replant hands, articulate spine all the way back and down. Slowly undo your block and set it off to the side and hug your knees. And we're actually gonna stay right here for our next position. Now, if this felt too big right away, we have our option of extending straight. This is tough in backs of legs, so maybe you just hold here and think about pushing length up towards the ceiling. We have that option to spread our low back of knees together, feet flexed wide, or the options we did before, steeple knees, windshield wipers. When you're ready, supine spinal twists. Arms come out to the side, all the way out like airplane wings, really pressing down through our shoulder girdle. And then tap toes down. Let's move to the right first. So we're gonna shift our hips to the left a little bit. Both knees fall to the right. If it feels good, a block, a pillow, something for support underneath if necessary. If you feel really great dropping your knees all the way to the right side, go for it. Opposite shoulder wants to stay down. And we're gonna look to the left to complete that supine spinal twist. Making things a little bit more interesting. We can pull our top knee more towards the floor, resting our right hand on top of it, or even going so far as to extend our leg out, resting top hand on top, and then moving your eye gaze back over to the left side. Wherever we're feeling the most sensation, the most intensity, direct all of your positive breath right into that spot. Full inspiration, full slow expiration. we do want to prepare ourselves mentally for how we're gonna rise. So I like to bring my arms back out, eyes to ceiling. Rebend top leg. Unless you want to be really strong about it, you're welcome to keep your legs straight and use your obliques to pull up. But if we know that this is going to be really tough for our low backs, we're going to come again right into our little fetal position and then roll our bodies up in one unit. Top down, steeple knees, scoot around, do whatever you need to do, fixing through the wardrobe, whatever needs to happen. And when you're ready for the next side, I'm right here with you. Draw knees on in. Airplane wings. I like to tap back down and scoot. Your hips want to go the opposite way. We're dropping knees to the left, so our hips are going to go towards the right side. And once you get your knees down, with or without props, let's think about why we did that little scoot. If I could look down my side body right now, I would see that my hips are underneath my shoulders. So without that little scoot, hips to the side before you dropped into twist, things might be on the diagonal, which might not feel so great. Once we get adjusted, we figure out where we want to go. Does top knee want to go a bit further towards the floor? Do we want to use our left hand to press down on that top leg? Eyes are going to look right towards our flat, grounded shoulder and our outstretched arm. And then we have that final option of really going for a leg extension. So I accidentally landed my top leg on a block, and oh, it's so supportive. It really feels nice to land there, knowing that that block will support you as you stretch. If you don't love it, move it out of the way and get in just a little bit deeper. When you're ready to exit, let's just gather up our thoughts, re-spreading our arms, rebending our knees, eye gaze, back to our focal point on the ceiling. And then one unit, rolling into fetal, and then rolling to the top, or just using our strong core to get us back in and situate ourselves into the center here. After we give ourselves a positive reaffirmation or a hug or a stretch or whatever you need, we're setting back up with head and neck flat, knees over hips, and shins at a 90 degree. You're welcome to hug a block here as well, just like we did on bridge. Bringing the arms out wide. Just checking on my dog back there, scooting around. Flexing our feet so our shins are parallel to the ground. And then we're gonna sweep both heels to one side. Back into the center, both heels to the other side. You might be able to notice that my hips are not moving one way or the other. We're just focusing this movement on our legs. So I'm not shifting into one butt cheek and then the other as I do this. I have a strong belly. My breath practice is on point. I'm just remembering to breathe and focusing on that as my priority. And this is a little prep work for what we're gonna do in a minute in our tabletop position. Let's go for one more round each way. All right, when you're done, land your toes. Bring your block away. We won't need that right now. We're gonna put that off to the side. Gather yourself up. And not all transitions are super graceful, but we attempt to make them as gentle and graceful as possible. So however you're most comfy, getting up and over to tabletop position on hands and knees. Might just roll over to the side and then get ourselves back to our mat, or we may roll all the way up and over. Super gentle, super in control. Into tabletop position. Hands are spread wide. We're finding all of our knuckles. Heels of hands are right under our shoulders. Knees are under our hips. And the tops of our feet are relaxed and flat. We're working on threading needle here. So I'm gonna come to you first. My right arm is rising, inhaling and lifting. Depending on how we're feeling in our neck and side body, we may want to keep eyes down to the side wall, or you can look all the way up towards your finger. And then we're just gonna pretend for a minute. Threading the needle just a little bit. Hand might come right towards our left wrist, and then we're gonna go forward a couple more times. Inhale, rise. Exhale to fall. Maybe a little bit deeper each time, that always feels good. So if you felt great the first time and you were like, nope, I don't have a lot of time to mess around today. I just want to do one. Thread the needle, find my way there, and do it, then you do. Otherwise, when you're ready, we would land. Now, I could have a block here or a pillow for my face. I prefer to keep my right arm down first and then use it like a spider and walk it out as far as possible. Then I flip and I send my energy down through my right temple right here. This left hand kind of gets in the way, so you're welcome to do it like a little suction cup and a goalpost. If it's bothersome to you once you find your restful position, do whatever feels good. Stretch it overhead, that feels way different. Or another one of my favorites is bringing it back behind the low back. You can just rest it, or you can actively push your forearm down into your back to get a really nice stretch. It's like you're combing tension out of this left shoulder. Belly is in here, muscles. The muscles of our abdominals are in, pulled in. Sometimes the flesh hangs out. That is fine as long as we're actively engaged. Protecting our low back as we breathe. And let's come on out when you're ready. Reversing just the way we came in. Our left arm needs to get back to the earth. I like to use it as a goalpost. You can push down, elevate your head, unthread your needle, and then do whatever feels good. If we need to rise again, and then release. If it feels good just to come into an extended child's pose, great. Might not want that, might want to close our knees and relax our hands on back for full child's pose. Whatever's really speaking to you today. I encourage you to take as much time in your transitions as possible. Rest as much as you need to check in, recollect yourself, and figure things out before you move on. But whenever you're ready, revisiting tabletop, starting with the left arm, reaching it out the side a whole bunch or just a little bit, and threading it under. Same thing, a lot or a little. Do as many as it feels really good to get fully into the posture, as big as you can today. If there's any props in your way, use one of your thread preps to just push them on out. And just because you did 4 opening on the other side doesn't mean you have to replicate it exactly on the other side. So whenever you're good and ready, let's land. Remembering that I like fingers down for this one, just to be able to get you a little further into your stretch. Spider walk out, flip palm when you're ready, head down with your left temple or side of head. And we can always use a pillow or a block. Ah, so nice. Top arm, where does that want to be? Bent at 90, stretched out overhead, down around low back. Tons of options. Take the one that works best for this side of your body. Reconnecting with a strong abdominal brace. Undoing when you're ready, just reversing all of the movements we just did. Child's pose in any way, or maybe puppy pose. Knees come under hips, hands walk out. Stretch out as far as you can, easing hips back and up as your chest falls towards the floor, possibly all the way to your chin. Belly is in, extending long through the back muscles. Really big stretch on our shoulders. So if it feels too intense, let's lift up a little bit and walk back out. When we get really extended like this, it's tough to breathe, so it's a great time to really prioritize your breath, focus on it. To come out of your pose, head rises just a little, Hands start to walk back on in the way you came. Right back into tabletop. Anything that your body feels like it needs. If your toes are like, I need to be tucked for a little bit. Maybe you want to crouch back, whatever you feel good doing, do. Maybe we're in child's pose again. And then gate pose. So I'm gonna swing to the side just so you can see me, but I wanna get a little bit more of the back body stretching. Coming around, I'm in tabletop to start, and then my right leg is gonna stick out to the side with my blade edge really pushing down, my inner arch pulling up. Feeling free to stay right here. If this is great, this is great. Soften your knee. We might wanna have our blocks underneath, put our hands on those, or we might be able to rise all the way up. Arms can come out. Lengthening, breathing. Come on back down with your hands and pivot your left leg around the corner as you pivot your right toes up, making your way into half split. With this position, blocks can be super helpful. So I'm just gonna get the block so I can show you. I could have a block on either side. I pivoted around, my toes were up towards the ceiling, and I can use these, trying not to really dump into them. We're gonna get light on our hands like they are buoys in water. And then we are free to extend our bodies forward as much as we can. Chin towards the tips of our toes, remembering how to keep a strong flex. Toes aren't turning in or out. That way we can stretch fully left to right across the back of our leg. And as I'm stretching forward with my chin towards my toes, I am pulling my right hip back towards my left big toe here. Coming out and into each pose with as much grace as possible. For this one, I like to pull my front foot back in just a little bit, shift my weight forward. You're welcome to keep your blocks if you need those, but otherwise we can put them off to the side. And then however, if you want to be like a break dancer and kind of sweep your leg around, we just want to get back to tabletop. We'll head on to the other side in a minute. But for now, anything that you need in your tabletops, whether you want to take some cows and cats, whether you have just some organic movements to get you in the mood. When you're ready, we're sweeping both sets of toes over towards our left side. From here, lengthen out, top of head away from tail, especially for your left side. Before you crunch, eyes are gonna look towards both feet. Straight up through our arms, soften our elbows, but the tendency is to get kind of in a little push up down here. So we're gonna lengthen out our sides and stay really elevated, full of breath if possible, for as long as it feels good, till we swing back to the center. Shift on over, both sets of toes towards the right side, top of head long. Relax your shoulders down from your earlobes. Pull elbows towards one another, isometrically engaging, thumbs towards one another to get in strong through the armpits and the obliques. And then eyes are gonna peek towards our right side, getting that little crunch on over here. Lengthening and strengthening. Coming back to the center when it feels right for you. All right, and then before we move on to our finishing gate poses, we're doing one more little stretch in your tabletop. So once you feel really adjusted here, remember anything that you need in between. If you want to swing around like a puppy dog tail, if we need to sit back and get off the wrists, if we just want to stretch our wrists, if we want to sit up and shake them, everything is good. Take your right foot and stick it straight back, and then just really push long through the back of your leg, through your heel, top of head pulls away. So what tends to happen again is I push down and I get a little crunchy and a little rounded. I want to be aware of that so I can pull my shoulders away from my hips, pull my head away from my tailbone, drop shoulders from ears, and then really focus my energy on extending. As you do, breathe into all the new spaces you've just opened up. See light coming into spots that were once tight and dark. And when it stops feeling super awesome, let it go. Whatever you need, whether we need to pull it in and out, kind of give it a little wiggle around. All movement is good movement. And we stick on down the other side when we're ready. Left toes, really stick them into your mat. So you can press actively out through your right heel. Remembering shoulders relax, sides extend, top of head extends. Finding all that beautiful length and breathing new energy, good vibrations down into your body. Oh, almost feels too good to leave. But this one's gonna be great too. So when you get done, I'm only turning to the side so that you can see me. You don't need to do this yourself. You're welcome to just stay right where you are on your tabletop. I went back to that, and I'm sticking my left foot out towards the side. Ideally on your mat so that you feel really safe. I see I'm off my mat here. I don't know if you can notice that, but just stick down through the blade edge. Energize through the arch all the way up into your groin. Soften your knees, super important, we're not hyperextending here. And then if you feel great here, stay. Nice stretch for the inner thigh. If you feel like you need a little help, 1 or 2 blocks, boost you up on any level. If that feels all so good that you're ready for the next step, rise up. Wherever your hands want to be. All the way out if you're feeling really confident. Beautifully light through the upper body, soft in the facial muscles, fingertips, collarbones. Open in your chest, drawing back and down through the shoulder blades towards your spine. And then release when you're ready. Okay. Finishing with one final pose today, forward fold. So when you get ready, however feels the most natural for you to get up. I'm just moving back so that hopefully I'll still be in the video with you. Rising when you're ready, and definitely having props nearby because forward fold is so big for the low back. Walking feet to the under hips, hips width distance apart or a little wider for more support. And how does this feel? Do we need higher in our blocks? Just remembering that when we use them, we're attempting to maintain lightness with the pressure on our blocks. So we are using all of our muscles. Eyes looking wherever it feels really good. And then pushing down through big toe mounds to make sure, again, we're stretching fully left to right across the back of our bodies. Now, if we felt great and we don't need our blocks or our books or whatever we're using, let's see if we can forward fold with a little dangle, really dropping heavily. The heavier we can make our upper body, the more we can allow gravity to take over, the more we'll benefit in our lower body. So eventually, getting to the spot where maybe we're holding our opposite biceps, forearms. This would be a great place to just completely hang out. Eventually dropping chin, or I should say lifting chin towards our chest, dropping the crown of our head towards the floor, eye gaze up towards navel, and fully folding here. Tough to breathe when you're upside down, so let's remember to always prioritize that. Hanging in for a few more breaths if possible. And then since this stretch is so big, we may need a gigantic knee bend, and we can press our chest right down onto our thighs for all of this stretch, for a portion of it, for when it gets to be too intense, but we're not quite ready to leave just yet. Mentally preparing for how we are going to rise out of here safely, slowly with control and strength. I like a bigger knee bend, almost like I'm getting into a squat. Tucking my chin, rounding into an angry cat posture, and then really slowly walking. Hands along the body like it's a ladder, and I'm climbing the rungs. A little higher on one side, a little higher on one side. Big in the low back. A little higher, a little higher. Now, if you don't need that, you don't need that. You just simply sweep arms to sky. Inhale, lift all the way up. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift all the way up. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift up and stay. Really lengthen without shoulders being stressed up into our earlobes, and tip over towards your left side. Center. Exhale, tip to your right side. Center, rise. Exhale. Center, rise. Come back into the center and let's memorize this beautiful spinal posture that we have, our strong, capable bodies. When you're ready, pulling hands down through midline, or if it feels better, let them float down. And then let's join one another in a little bow to our strong practice. Grateful for the bodies that we have that just took us through our mental, emotional, and physical practice. Namaste, my friend. The light in me honors and is acknowledging, very inspired by and humbled by the light in you. Namaste.